This quick video is just a demonstration of overshoot and reverse ghosting on the Samsung C24FG70 and a bit about how it varies as the frame rate and, more importantly, the refresh rate varies. I'm currently running Battlefield 1. I've got some nice a nice mixture of dark and medium transitions, which is where the overshoot tends to be most obvious on this monitor. I've got Freesync enabled, as you can hopefully see. Freesync on. It's got Freesync set to Ultimate Engine on the monitor. The settings I'm using allow me to get 144 frames a second. This means the monitor is running at 144 Hz currently. Now, there are perhaps little traces of overshoot here and there, but it's really not obvious. In this particular scene, there's the main area to focus on is really this dark bit of the tank there, or the dark outline of the tank against the brighter background. Nothing really stands out. It's kind of hard to capture this on the video in a way that reflects what I'm seeing with my eyes, but hopefully when I show you some slightly more obvious examples, it'll become quite obvious in the video anyway. I'm now going to adjust my graphics settings so that I'm getting around 100 frames a second, and remember I've got FreeSync enabled, so this means that the monitor is running at around 100 Hz. It's actually 98 frames a second at the moment, so the monitor is set to 98 Hz just at the moment, and I can now see far more obvious overshoot. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but near the dark areas of the tank against the background I can actually see some bright green fringing and some sort of cyan, purple, violet colours as well. Just depends on the shades involved in the transition as to which sort of colours you might see. So this is a November edition. Some people who are keen forum goers may know that some of the early revisions actually had something that people dubbed purple trailing. That was something that occurred at 144 Hz, 144 frames a second even. On my model, or on the newer revisions, it seems that Samsung's toned it down, the overshoot, for higher refresh rates, higher frame rates, sort of 120 Hz, 120 frames a second plus, no problems there of note. But as it drops further, 100, really between 80 and 110 Hertz in my experience, there are some issues. You can see in the test UFO testing that I've done in the full written review that there are some obvious issues at 100 Hertz which aren't there to the same extent at 120 Hertz. In fact, they're not really there at all, and at 144 Hertz it's even better again. What's quite interesting as well is if the frame rate drops further to closer to 60 frames a second, 60 Hertz for the refresh rate. Again, I've got FreeSync enabled. I'm not sure exactly what I'll have to set these to get that to work. Let's see. Basically the overshoot diminishes again. So I don't know what you can see on the video again, but that bright green and purple trailing, it's pretty much gone now. I mean, there's a little bit of it, but I'm not quite at 60 anyway. I'm actually closer to 70. So yeah, there are some refresh rates that the monitor works better at, and I'm just gonna get back to that problematic 100, or the particularly problematic 100. It's not an absolute value again. I mean, if it was sort of 80, 90, 106, 110, doesn't really matter. There'd be fairly obvious overshoot. But I'm going to show you what happens if I disable FreeSync. So you can see more obvious overshoot there. And again, it's got nothing to do with the actual settings I'm using in the game. It isn't that I'm using ultra versus low and it's changing what's being displayed, therefore it's presenting some issues with the monitor. I mean, I've tried this in lots of different scenarios and lots of different sets of settings, and this persists regardless. So you can get that nice upright inverse ghosting back again a bit. I think I've moved my character slightly, it's not quite, yeah, okay, that's better. Some nice blooming there. Now, bear with me whilst I disable Freesync. So I'm just disabling Freesync on the monitor. And although the game is still running, what will happen is it'll go into a window, Freesync is disabled, I can put it full screen, Freesync's still disabled. The monitor is now running at 144 Hz, even though the frame rate is around 100 frames a second. And the overshoot's disappeared basically. Again, I don't know how this appears on the video, but to my eye it's not that same extent of bright trailing. So what I'm trying to say is it is to do with the refresh rate rather than the frame rate of the monitor as well. To sort of further reinforce this, I could set the monitor to 100 Hz. I've never actually done this on the fly before, so let's see if this works. So I'm going to now set it to a static 100 Hz refresh rate. I'll just check in-game that it's also set to 100 Hz, just to double check. Yep, 100 Hz. So hopefully we should see some overshoot, if my theory is correct. Yep, you can see some nice bright trailing there again. So 100 Hz and 100 frames a second. I mean, yeah, it's not the best video. It's kind of difficult to show this in a video. This was quite a spontaneous video. This was just a nice example of that I came across in my testing. So hopefully it's been quite useful, but I definitely would recommend reading the full review, and in particular the responsiveness section, if you're interested to learn a bit more about this behaviour on the monitor.